Hello everyone, Mustapha here again. Someone asked me, following up the Who Wants to Be a Dacha application that we created in the past. I think the application in that one that we did, the first one, you could only write the questions as part of the program code. That means when you start the program, the user can only answer the quiz based on the questions you've already programmed. So there's no feature for the user to be able to add more questions or remove already existing questions. So somebody was asking how to do that. Now this tutorial is just to show you how you can do that, but because we'll be using classes, we'll be tampering with so many things in Visual Studio, it might not be so much suitable for a beginner. But I think if you're willing to learn, it should be easy to carry along. So let's go ahead and open up our Visual Studio. I think it will be better we just create a new project entirely instead of working on the previous Who Wants to Be a Dacia application. So the same thing, remember to check Visual C Sharp and then choose Windows Forms application. Now I'm going to call this, let's call it Who Wants to Be a Programmer. Okay, we'll call it that, and yes, and click OK. So that will create the project for us. So I think when he asked me the question, when he asked me how he could do something like that, I remember I told him he needs to create a separate class where he's going to be storing his questions. That is a question, the options for that question, and also the answer for that question. They are all going to be bundled inside an object called a question. Now later on I also realized, apart from that, it might be easier if you have several forms. So for example, so far what we've been doing in Visual Studio is we've been creating a program that uses only one Windows form, which is this one, the one that normally writes form 1 on top of it. Now the whole idea of this form 1 is this thing itself, this little window you're seeing, is one object. Well, it's a class on its own, but you can create several objects of this same form 1. I don't know if that's clear. Now you could also have another class similar to this window, which is a different window entirely, which means it's going to have different UI design to the first form 1. So let's just start with this. Let's say this is going to be our main menu. All right, so this form is going to be our main menu. We're just going to design the UI on the main menu. So the whole idea is when the program starts, the user is going to be able to say, okay, I want to add questions, and then it will open up our form, a different window where he's going to add questions. And then he can say, okay, I want to go back to the main menu, and it opens up this main menu. And then he can also say from the main menu, I want to start the quiz, and then it opens up the window where he can now start playing the game. That's the window we created in the previous application. So I hope that makes sense. Let's just go ahead and design this UI for the main menu. So in the main menu, we're going to have 2 buttons. Let's just drag them in there. Let's enlarge them a little. Let's make sure they're the same size. Okay, good. So in this button, we're just going to go to the properties window and change, instead of writing button 1 there, we're going to say add more questions. So this is going to be the button that will allow the user to add more questions. And then in this button, after selecting button 2, you come to the text property in the properties box, and type play quiz. So that's the button that starts the actual quiz. Good. So this is our main menu design. Let's change that. Select the form. I don't like that it's showing form 1 up there, and go to the text property and call this and type in main menu and press enter. So this is going to be our main menu. Let's just test that and see. So if we test this, we can see if the user clicks here, it's supposed to take him to where he's going to add more questions, and if the user clicks on play quiz, it's going to take him to where he's going to play the quiz. So I think I'm going to stop here for this first video so we don't run out of time, and then I'll show you how to create the other windows. Okay, hello, welcome to the second video. I'm just, if you notice, I'm trying to rush, and I know it's going to be quite a long tutorial, so I'm trying to make sure I cut down the tutorials into useful sections. So in the first section, we saw how to create this main menu where the user can select if he wants to add more questions or if he wants to play quiz. So when this is running, remember to click stop debugging. That will take you back to your programming view. So the next thing we want to do is we want to create, remember, that window where the user is going to add more questions. Now to do that, you have to create a new Windows form entirely. So this is how you do it. You go to project and choose add Windows form. Okay, now that's one way you can do it. Another way is you can right click on your project, that is the name of your application who wants to be a programmer. This one, not the solution. This is the solution, this is the project. So you can right click on the project and choose add, and then choose existing item. I know this is a long way, or you could just go to Windows Form. There's Windows Form here. If you go to existing item, you also have options where do you want a class or DLL or whatever, or a Windows Form. So since it's Windows Form we want, we can just select it from here. So you choose Windows Form, and then remember, always select Visual C# items and choose Windows Form. Now in the name, you don't want it to be called Form 2. If you call it Form 2, you could still use it, but I don't like our forms being called Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, if you get the idea. We want reasonable names that once we look at the name, we know what it's supposed to be. So we're going to call this add questions form.cs. So it's add, remember, make this the first letter, make it I think they call it camel case, no, Pascal case. So the first letter should be capital, add questions, Q should be capital, add questions form.cs, and then you click on add. Now if you notice, the other one is gone. It's not that it has disappeared. You can bring it back. If you click, you now have two tabs. You have form 1 and you have add questions form. In this add questions form, you can design whatever you want. There could be instances also where you could accidentally close this form 1 tab. Now it's gone. To bring back the form 1 tab, you can come into your Solutions Explorer. You can see this is your project. You expand it, and then if you go down along your project, you can see you have add questions form here and you have form 1 here. If you expand your form 1, okay, you don't even need to expand it. You can just double click on this form1.cs and you can see your form1.cs has come back to the design view where you can add more things. So just keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and design our add questions form. So we're going to go to this is going to be quite large because there are a lot of things we're going to put in there. For now, just follow along. I'll try and explain what everything does. So first, we're going to add a list box. Now this list box is going to be holding all the questions that we have at any point in time in the program. So at some point you might add, say, 5-6 questions. They're going to be displayed there, that they are contained in the program. All right, So if you have 10 questions, the 10 questions are going to show there. So that lets you know that, oh yeah, my program has 10 questions. And also remember that this list box can contain infinite number of items. So you can have infinite questions in there. Okay, let's go ahead. This is going to be the list box, and let's put a label at the top of the list box. And after adding the label, you select the label, go to the text property, and change that to questions, or we could call it, we could write available questions. Yeah, available questions. Okay, and press enter. So this is going to be where our available questions are, and then we're going to need another label here. This is where you're going to write the question, where the user is going to write the question he wants to add. So that's where the question is going to be. We're going to need another label, Control C, Control V. So I just duplicated that questions label. We're going to have where the user is going to have option A. So where the user is going to add, okay, this is option A, this is option B, this is option C, and this is option D. So I'm going to call this option A, press enter, and then Control V again, sorry, Control C, Control V to duplicate this label, and here we're going to call that option B. So remember, it's not the name of these objects we're changing, it's actually the text property. So always remember, don't change the name, just the text property is okay. Let's go ahead. We still need two more. Control C, Control V, and this is where the user is going to enter option C, and Control C, Control V. Finally, this is where the user is going to enter option D. Now, these are the labels. Of course, the user cannot write what you want to write on top of a label. Okay. What we want is a text box. So the labels are just guides. They let the user know, okay, this is where you write your question that you want to add. This is where you put the options. So let's look for a text box. Here's a text box. So we're going to put that text box there. Let's enlarge it a bit because the question could be long. And then let's also click on this little play button on top of it and choose multi-line. Now this means it can be multiple lines. All right. So we're going to, I think that's enough. Let's just enlarge that a bit. And then we're going to add another text box for option A. Where is text box? Okay, here you are. That's option A. Let's give it a bit. Let's make it a little bit longer. So yeah, Control C, Control V is going to be the second option. Control C, Control V is going to be where the third option is. So let's drag this a little bit to the top. Control C, oh no, not that. Control C, Control V, and we have our option. So the user is going to type in his question here. Is option A, is option B, is option C, and option D. So let's quickly try and finish this before we run out of time. Finally, the user is going to have one button, which is add question. Where is button? I'm looking for a button. Okay, here it is. This is where we're going to put it, and the text there is going to be called add. Okay, so if the user clicks on add, it should add this question to the questions container, or wherever we're going to keep the questions. Fine. We're not done yet, not yet. We need one more button here, which is going to be for removing. Remember, if the user has 10 questions and he wants to remove one, he's going to need a button where he can select the question he doesn't want and then click remove, and then to remove the question. So we're going to call this remove, press enter, and then finally we need one more button which allows the user to go back to the main menu. Remember, this is the form where the user designs, where the user selects the questions or add questions. So we could write back to main menu here, main menu, and voila, I think we're done for the add questions form. So before we run out of time, let's stop this here for the second installment of this tutorial. Okay, let's quickly run over the third form. Remember, we now have two forms. The first form is the main menu. The second form is where the user adds questions, and then the third form is where the real quiz playing platform, where the user is going to play the quiz. So let's go ahead. It's going to be very similar, if you remember, to the first Who Wants to Be a Dacha application that we created. So we're just going to rush into that one because I believe it's straightforward. Let's go ahead the same way we added this form. We're going to add one more form. So right click on your, or let's do it the second way since we did it the first way in the first one. So you just go to project and click on add Windows forms. Remember to select C# and select Windows form. Then finally change this name. We don't want it to be called form 2. We want it to be called play quiz, or yeah, let's call it play quiz. Play quiz. Should we add form? Yeah, let's call it form so we know it's a form. So we're going to call it play quiz form.cs and click on add. Okay, finally, this is the third and final form where we design our UI, where the user is going to play his quiz. So remember how we did in the first tutorial, we added a label, which is where the user is going to type in a question, and we call that question label, if I remember. Yeah, so remember, it is the name you want to change here, not the text. So the name is question label. Good, and press enter. And secondly, we're going to need okay, this is where the question is going to be. So we're going to need where the options are. The options are buttons, if you remember. So this is going to be I think option A. Okay, I think we wrote, yeah, I think we call that option A. I'm not sure, I can't remember what we called it. Oh, I think we called it button A, not option A. Yeah, we called it button A, and then the text on it was just A, I think. So we're going to put just A on top of that, and we're just going to duplicate this, Control C, Control V, change the name from button 1 to button B, and then change the text, where's the text, to B, and then we're going to do select this first, Control C, Control V, and remember these need to be long, otherwise some of our options are not going to show completely. So let's make those long. Okay, and this is option C. So we're going to change the text to C, and we're going to change the name to button C, and then finally Control C, Control V. We're going to change that to button D, and we're going to change the text property, where's the text property, to button D. And okay, so the questions pop up. Oh yeah, I do remember there's one more thing. What shows if the user got the question right or wrong, remember? So it's a label, I think. We're going to drop it here, and remember we didn't have anything in the text, so it's just going to be blank, and we're going to set the name to be I think info box. Did we call it info box? I think so. information box or info box. We're just going to call it info box. So remember, it's not that it's hidden, it's just that it has no text in it at the moment. That's why you can't see anything. Then finally, there's one more label, if you remember, where the user score shows. So we're going to call this score label, and we're going to type score and a semicolon and a space. Is it? Yeah. So this is where the score of the user is going to show. Fine. I think that's all for the quiz form. So this is where the user is going to play. Now, at the moment, even though we've created all these forms, if you start the application, you will notice that it's only the first form that you get, the main menu form, all right? If you click on play quiz, because we have not yet programmed what happens when you click on play quiz, so it doesn't show you the play quiz form. The same thing with the add more questions, because we haven't programmed anything yet. So at the moment, this is the only one you can see. All right. Now I'll show you. I think it will be better to stop this session here, and then in the next video I'll show you how you can link this to the play quiz form and link this to the add more questions form. Okay, see you in the next video.